A major severe weather outbreak is expected today across parts of the United States where 80 to 100 mile damaging winds, very large hail as large as a size of 5 inches in diameter, and several tornadoes will be a possibility. So in today's forecast, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next few days. And we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And right now, we're not dealing with any significant severe weather as of this morning, but we've had some big storms overnight that have been weakening. These actually brought some damaging winds, hail, kind of sporadically anywhere from about Abilene, Texas, all the way back into northern Mississippi. We actually had one large tornado yesterday just south of St. Louis, back over near Summertown, and also a crazy structure back over northeastern New Mexico. Now, what's going to happen today is that this low pressure system that is all the way back up into Canada is going to be moving more to the southeast, and we are going to get some northwesterly flow, which is going to promote a very significant threat for the potential for either a very severe mesoscale convective system, which means a large line of thunderstorms, or maybe even a derecho across the southern plains today, where widespread damaging winds and tornadoes will be a possibility. And then back over on the east coast, we got a little mesoscale convective vortex that'll bring the potential for an isolated tornado or two this afternoon, in addition to damaging winds across areas like Maryland, Delaware, and even New Jersey. Now let's talk more about the severe weather potential for the next few days, beginning with today, which is Sunday, and we have a level 4 out of 5 moderate risk of severe weather in place across parts of the southern plains. This includes northern North Texas and even southwestern Oklahoma. This does now include the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, so almost all of the DFW area is included in this moderate risk. Wichita Falls, Texas, also back over near Childress, and just outside there of the Oklahoma City area. The enhanced risk does include Oklahoma City, the Texas Panhandle, and also the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then our slight risk of severe weather is just outside of St. Louis into southeastern Iowa, and also back over into West Texas. We also have another slight risk back over on the East Coast. So two entirely different storm systems today. We got northwesterly flow, which is going to promote the potential for a line of thunderstorms, potentially even a derecho today, which means a large swath of destructive winds across a, again, very large area, and that would include most of Oklahoma and Texas. And then back over on the East Coast, a mesoscale convective vortex remnant from yesterday will bring the threat for some scattered damaging winds and perhaps a couple of tornadoes. So this is what it looks like right now. We got that moderate risk again, including Dallas and Fort Worth. It includes Wichita Falls just outside of Paris, Texas. The biggest concerns for today will be significant damaging winds. I do anticipate that we'll have widespread damaging winds between 80 to 100 miles per hour at times across parts of Texas and Oklahoma. This does include the Oklahoma City Metroplex. It also includes areas like Amarillo and Lubbock, where damaging winds could easily exceed 70 to 80 miles per hour. Now, I do want to point out that not everybody is going to see damaging winds this high, and in most cases, a lot of you will see damaging winds between 60 to 80 miles per hour, but even then, that can still be destructive. And also keep in mind that the ceiling today is upwards of 100 mile per hour winds, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we got a 105 to 110 mile per hour wind gust somewhere here in Oklahoma or Texas. Additionally, very large hail is going to be a possibility, especially from western Missouri just outside of Kansas City all the way back over into most of Oklahoma and Texas, where we could see hailstone sizes as large as the size of a DVD. That is 5 inches in diameter. For reference, if you don't know what a DVD is, that is larger than the size of a softball. Also, tornadoes are a possibility. We have two different areas we're keeping an eye on, one of which is in the mid-Atlantic, where a couple tornadoes will be possible, just outside of the Washington, D.C. area. And then back over in the southern plains, we have a large 5% tornado risk for Oklahoma and Texas. I personally think that there will be a 10% hatch tornado risk at some point today added for parts of western Oklahoma and also parts of north central Texas near Wichita Falls. And I do think an intense tornado is a possibility today, which means EF3 plus tornado, but it's going to be contingent on us seeing discrete supercells firing out in front of our line of thunderstorms this afternoon. And I would assume we're probably going to see one or two just to the west of Oklahoma City and just off there to the north of Wichita Falls. So definitely make sure that you have a tornado action plan ready to go. And if you're for some reason under any severe thunderstorm warning today at all, I would be staying away from windows, because if we do end up getting a large line of thunderstorms, which we're expecting with winds as high as 80 to 100 miles per hour, that could be potentially deadly. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you're taking this very seriously across the central and southern plains, and make sure that you, your friends, and your family are staying weather aware and having multiple ways to receive warnings. And make sure to stay tuned to this channel, as we will have in-depth live coverage later today covering this entire severe weather event with a lot of storm chasers, lots of live cameras to give you an idea of what is happening in real time. As we go into Monday, the risk of severe weather will be shifting off to the east, where we have a large slight risk of severe weather anywhere from the Ohio Valley back into the southeast, and a marginal threat that extends from the high plains back over into New York. And so for Monday, we are expecting the main concern to be scattered damaging winds between 60 to 70 miles per hour, not nearly as substantial as it will be today. Large hail is a possibility, especially out of our initial storms, and then there will be a chance for a couple of tornadoes. I think our main areas will be Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and just outside of the Buffalo, New York area, and then another 2% tornado risk, which is where we'll have a line of storms that'll be capable of producing an isolated tornado or two during the late morning and afternoon from central Mississippi all the way back over into North Carolina. So at least not as substantial as today, but still notable back over along the East Coast. And so for today, we are expecting a fairly elevated tornado threat across the southern plains. With the storms mostly being linear, the tornado threat is not going to be initially the most significant threat. In fact, it'll mostly be damaging winds initially. The one contingency, though, is if we see any discrete or semi-discrete supercells form out in front of our line of thunderstorms, this is where things could get very dicey, and we actually could end up seeing the potential for a large or even significant tornado during the afternoon or even early evening hours today. So definitely make sure that you have a tornado action plan ready to go in case a discrete storm does fire up. But as this line of storms moves down to the south, we'll really be talking about mainly a wind threat, with some tornadoes being a possibility along the leading edge of our line of thunderstorms, assuming it is not outflow dominant. Once the line of storms becomes outflow dominant, the tornado threat drops off substantially, which will probably end up happening just south of I-20 in Texas. Another thing I want to point out for today is that we have an abundance of instability today, which is basically storm fuel. Notice our values here across Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle, which is where storm initiation will be early this afternoon. We have values upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 joules per kilogram, which, keep in mind, we don't really need that much for storms to fire off, if any. And this amount is just nuclear. I mean, this is a ton of instability. This means that storms are going to fire off very quickly, and they will pretty much be widespread today. So this is definitely something that is very concerning with today's environment. Here's the timing for today. We're going to have a few isolated showers and thunderstorms out there this morning, but severe weather really won't ramp up until about 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Storms will initiate back over where all that instability is, back over in southwest Kansas, the northern Texas Panhandle, and also the Oklahoma Panhandle, and the initial threat will be very large hail and damaging winds. The tornado threat will increase, I think, by 4 to 5 o'clock if we end up getting any discrete supercells out there, which, again, that's contingent. It may or may not happen. It's definitely something that could go either way, but if storms do end up going discrete, there is a potential there for a strong or even large tornado here in Oklahoma or Texas. By around 5 to 6 o'clock, this will just be a large cluster of thunderstorms here, all the way from about Tulsa and Joplin back over towards Abilene, and also just outside there of Lubbock and Amarillo. By 7 to 8 o'clock, notice how this line of storms rapidly intensifies across parts of Texas near Wichita Falls. This is not what you want to see, because by the time this line of storms organizes is when these winds are going to be substantial. I mean, we're talking about 80 to 100 mile per hour winds being a possibility in this area here by around 8 to 9 o'clock tonight. And then by 9 to 10, these storms are rolling right into the Dallas-Fort Worth area with all hazards on the table. But by the time these get to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and southern Oklahoma, the biggest concerns will be damaging winds anywhere from 60 to 100 miles per hour, and then the potential for a few tornadoes. The large hail threat will be lower by the time these storms get to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. By around midnight, we still got a very intense line of storms ongoing from Fort Smith back over just south of Dallas-Fort Worth near Cleburne, where intense damaging winds will still be ongoing. And then by 1 to 2 in the morning, this line of storms is not going to end anytime soon. It's literally just going to continue here. By 2 in the morning, these storms are approaching Little Rock, also Shreveport, and just to the north there of Houston. And then by around 3 to 4 in the morning, I think this line of storms will start to finally lose its energy, and it'll be more than anything just some isolated to scattered damaging winds around 60 miles per hour approaching the Mississippi River Valley. And then hopefully by then we are done talking about the potential for a derecho. Now, as a reminder, if you're not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live later today, because I do expect that later today will get very crazy very fast, and we'll be live again for probably upwards of 12 hours today with in-depth severe weather coverage. Now, as we go into Monday, we are expecting severe weather to continue here across the southern plains. There will likely be a few more supercells that fire off back over in West Texas and also eastern New Mexico. The biggest concern with these will be isolated damaging winds and hail, and then maybe an isolated tornado threat as well out of one of those supercells. So definitely stay weather aware. And then on Tuesday, more severe weather is expected, but a lot of this will be back over in West and southern Texas, with damaging winds and hail as the main concern, and still a low tornado risk existing. Also, this is the timing for today. Back over in the mid-Atlantic region, there will be a mesoscale convective vortex, and by around 3 to 4 o'clock, the tornado threat should start to increase across parts of Virginia and Maryland. Again, there will be a couple of tornadoes, I think, embedded in these little supercells that'll form just off to the east of the Appalachian Mountains. I think the greatest threat will just be outside of Washington, D.C. This should be about a 4, 5, 6 hour threat. The greatest threat, I think, from about 2 until about 8 o'clock, and then eventually by around 10 to 11 o'clock, we got a little cluster here that's going to be going across across southern Maryland and also Delaware. That'll move offshore. And then on Monday, a few more scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible. A little bit of a severe weather potential here back over in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, where there will be a line of storms capable of damaging winds and also a potential for an isolated tornado or two. And then storms will also be ongoing in the Carolinas and as well as Georgia, where this will be mostly hail and wind. A line of storms will try to form again coming off of that potential derecho that we're going to have today, tomorrow, and that could also produce the potential for damaging winds and an isolated tornado back over in Georgia. And this is a little closer look at that. So again, notice how that line of storms will weaken tomorrow morning, and then by tomorrow afternoon, there will be a lot of storms firing up near the Gulf Coast, all the way back over into the Tennessee Valley, with hail and wind being the main concerns, but a tornado or two are going to be a possibility. If we get a tornado, it's going to be pretty sporadic unless we have an organized line of storms, which right now does not look likely. I think it's just going to be a lot of sporadic storms across the southeast. And then Monday night, things start to clear out. On Tuesday, a few more storms will be possible, but there will not be nearly as much energy for severe weather, but I would not rule out an isolated severe storm back over in the Florida Panhandle and maybe back up into the Carolinas. And then beyond this storm system, we are expecting a quieter weather pattern, honestly, for most of next week. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot in terms of significant severe weather. One thing I'll keep an eye on is this maybe small little low pressure system that could form over the southern plains. That could bring some severe weather Wednesday, Thursday. But really by next weekend is when I think things will start to ramp up back up again. We're going to have a large ridge, I think, across the southern plains, almost a ring of fire, if you will. And then by the weekend, our jet streams should start to get more organized back over in the Pacific Northwest, which should allow for more severe weather events to take place back over in parts of the northern plains and the Midwest by around the middle of June. So at least it looks like at some point here in the next couple of weeks, we are going to start to see the severe weather start to simmer down a little bit more back over in the southern plains and the southeast. It's not fully over yet, but definitely some promising signs here that we'll likely start to see severe weather lifting further off to the north here as we go later into June, which means areas like Texas should finally get a break, but that also means summer heat is on the horizon. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We'll be live later today with in-depth severe weather coverage, so stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter at MaxVelocityWX. Links are in the description, and we will see you all later today.